I still remember the smell of her shampoo, strawberry something. She used to run toward me like I was her whole world, arms wide, giggles louder than anything else in the room. Grandma, she'd shout, like it was the most important word in the world. And to me, it was. Her name was Emily. 7 years old. Freckles like fairy dust scattered across her nose. Big brown eyes that lit up whenever I walked through the door. Those moments used to be everything to me. I'd drive 2 hours from my little cottage in the suburbs just to spend a weekend with her. I didn't care about the traffic or the arthritis that made long drives feel like marathons. As long as I got to braid her hair, bake cookies with her, and hear her little voice say, "Tell me one more story, Grandma," I was whole. Her mother, my daughter-in-law Amanda, was always distant with me. Polite, but cold. After my son, Jason, passed away in a motorcycle accident when Emily was just 3, Amanda grew even more distant. I understood grief. But I also saw how she slowly started to close the door on anything that reminded her of Jason, including me. Still, she let me visit. Maybe because Emily begged for it. Or maybe because she felt guilty. Whatever the reason, I made the most of every visit. I brought homemade applesauce in mason jars. I mailed little cards with stickers and glitter that would spill everywhere when you opened them. I even learned how to FaceTime, which for someone my age felt like learning to fly a spaceship. And for a while, it worked. Emily would jump onto the screen screaming, "Grandma," so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Her drawings of us, always 2 stick figures, one taller than the other, holding hands, covered the walls of my fridge like a little shrine. Then, all of a sudden, things changed. At first, I thought maybe she was just busy. Kids get distracted, especially once they start school. But my calls started going unanswered. The weekly video chats became monthly. The visits, well, those stopped altogether. I texted Amanda, "Hey, would love to see Emily soon. I miss her so much." No reply. I waited a few days, sent a follow-up. "Is everything okay?" Still nothing. 3 weeks later, I got a short text. "Emily's adjusting to some changes right now. I'll let you know when she's ready for a visit." Changes? I didn't know what that meant. But it felt like I was being pushed away. A month went by. Then 2. Then 6. One day, I just got in the car and drove. I told myself I'd surprise them. I baked Emily's favorite cookies, chocolate chip with a hint of cinnamon, and picked up a stuffed unicorn from the store, just like the one she lost last Christmas and cried over for hours. When I pulled into the driveway, my heart was thumping. I hadn't seen her in nearly a year. I missed her like an ache I couldn't massage away. I knocked. Amanda opened the door, looking like she'd just seen a ghost. "Hi," I said, trying to keep my voice light. I was in the area and thought I'd drop by. Her mouth tightened. "You should have called." "I did," I said softly. "You didn't answer." Behind her, I saw a man I didn't recognize. Tall. Square jaw. Looked like he stepped out of a toothpaste commercial. And then I saw Emily. She was at the top of the stairs, holding onto the banister. She had grown taller. Her hair was shorter now. No freckles. Or maybe they just faded. "Emily," I said, my heart leaping. She stared at me. Blank. Like I was a stranger. Amanda turned and said, "Sweetie, come say hi to. This is Grandma." Emily walked halfway down the stairs, then stopped. "That's not my grandma," she said. And just like that, the air left my lungs. "What?" I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. Emily tilted her head. "I don't know her." Amanda didn't say anything. The man stepped in then. "Emily, honey, why don't you go get your coloring book, okay?" She nodded and walked away like none of it mattered. Like I hadn't rocked her to sleep after night terrors. Like I hadn't sung her lullabies, kissed her boo-boos, or read her goodnight moon 100 times with different voices for every page. "I think it's time you left," Amanda said, her tone firm. "Wait," I said, the cookies trembling in my hands. "Why doesn't she remember me? What's going on?" "Amanda, please." She looked at me, and for a moment, I swear I saw guilt in her eyes. But then it hardened. She's been through a lot, she said. We all have. I married Greg 6 months ago. He's helping us move on. Emily calls him dad now. I felt something snap inside me. She's forgetting Jason, I whispered. She's healing, Amanda corrected. I took a step back. You're erasing him. You're erasing me. Her jaw clenched. Please leave. I wanted to scream, to beg, to run up the stairs and hug my granddaughter until she remembered me. But instead, I set the cookies on the porch, carefully, like they were fragile. Then I walked away. As I pulled out of the driveway, I looked back one last time. Emily stood at the window, watching, not waving, just watching. And that's when I knew something was wrong. Deeply wrong. This wasn't just grief. This wasn't just a child forgetting. Someone had made her forget. And I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The drive home was silent except for the storm raging inside me. I kept replaying her words over and over in my mind. I don't know her. My own granddaughter. My Emily. The same little girl who once scribbled my name in crayon hearts. Who used to sit in my lap and tell me about her dreams of being a real princess scientist who also bakes cakes. Now, she looked right through me. Like I'd never existed. I didn't sleep that night. My mind raced with questions and memories. I pulled out the old photo albums I kept beside my bed, page after page of Emily's smiling face, holding my hand at the zoo, baking cookies with flour on her nose, sitting on my couch surrounded by coloring books and dolls. I touched the pictures like they could bring her back to me. And then I remembered the letters. Every month since she was 3, I'd written Emily a letter. Nothing fancy. Just little notes about life, about how much I loved her, how proud I was of her. I kept them in a box, thinking I'd give them to her when she turned 18. I opened the box and began to read them, one by one, hoping they'd ground me, remind me that what we had was real. But it just made the ache worse. I didn't want revenge. I wasn't angry in the way people think of anger. I was hurt. And more than that, I was afraid. Afraid that Amanda and this new man, Greg, were trying to erase me from Emily's life the same way they were erasing Jason, my son. I decided to try again, carefully, respectfully. I mailed a card, a glittery one like the old days. I wrote inside, Dear Emily, I miss you very much and hope you're doing well. I made your favorite cookies this week and thought of you. I still have your drawing of us on the fridge. Love always. Grandma. I never got a reply. So I mailed another the next week. Then another. Nothing. 3 months passed. And then one day, I got an envelope, no return address. Inside was my card, returned to me. On it, in block letters that weren't Emily's, was written, Do not contact this household again. I nearly dropped it. This was war. A quiet, cruel kind. And I wasn't going to win it by sending cards. I started doing some digging. I didn't have social media myself, but my neighbor's daughter helped me look things up. Amanda had changed her last name to match her new husband's. There were pictures, family photos of the 3 of them, smiling at the beach, carving pumpkins, having backyard picnics. Emily looked happy. But she also looked rehearsed. She was no longer Emily Morgan. She was listed as Emily Wilson now. A new last name. Jason's name was nowhere. It was like he never existed. I decided to go to the school. I knew where Emily attended elementary, Hillside Creek. I still remember dropping her off once when Amanda had a doctor's appointment. The receptionist was the same woman from that day, cheerful and distracted. I'm here to drop off a book for my granddaughter, I lied. Emily Wilson. I promised her I'd bring it. She smiled. Of course. I'll just call her down. Oh no, no need to interrupt class, I said quickly. Can I just leave it in her cubby? I don't know how I pulled it off, but she handed me a visitor pass and let me walk back. Maybe it was the gray hair. Maybe I looked harmless. I walked down the hall, heart pounding. I stopped by her classroom window. And there she was. My Emily. She was working on an art project, markers, glitter, the works. I could see her lips moving as she talked to a friend. She smiled. She laughed. But the spark I remembered was dimmer. There was something behind her eyes. Something guarded. Her desk was decorated. A name tag that read Emily W. Little Hearts. But none of the drawings she used to love. No photos. No mention of her dad. I asked the teacher when class would be dismissed. I said I was her grandmother, hoping she wouldn't press. But the woman looked confused. I'm sorry, you said you were her grandmother, I repeated. She blinked. Oh, I thought her only living grandparent was Greg's father. I felt cold. I'm Jason Morgan's mother. The woman's face changed. I see, she said carefully. I'm afraid I can't speak to you without parental permission. You'll have to leave now. I nodded and backed away. My heart sank as I returned the pass and walked out of the school. Even her teacher had no idea who I was. Amanda and Greg had gone so far as to rewrite Emily's entire history. They'd buried Jason, hidden me, fabricated a whole new origin for my granddaughter. And Emily, she was a child. She trusted what she was told. But no one erases a person entirely unless they have something to hide. Something darker. I didn't know what yet. But I was going to find out. Because even if Emily didn't remember me now, I remembered everything. And I wasn't going to stop until she did too. After that visit to the school, something inside me shifted. This wasn't just grief manipulation or moving on. This was calculated. This was surgical. Amanda was intentionally cutting every thread that connected Emily to her past and to me. And people don't go to those lengths unless they're hiding something. I wasn't about to stalk a child or show up uninvited again. That's not who I am. But I also wasn't going to sit back while my granddaughter was brainwashed. If Amanda was going to build a lie, I was going to find the truth, and I'd make sure Emily knew it one day, even if it wasn't tomorrow. I went to Jason's old storage unit the next day. I hadn't touched it since the funeral, but I still had the key. It was a small metal door behind a grocery store, the kind of place no one would ever look twice at. I kept some of his things there because Amanda didn't want them in the house after the accident. It's too painful, she'd said. I understood. Or at least, I tried to. Inside, dust clung to everything like grief. Boxes of Jason's books, his high school yearbooks, his guitar, even some of Emily's baby clothes that he'd insisted on keeping. I sat down and opened a box labeled Emily Dad Stuff. Photos spilled out. There he was, Jason holding newborn Emily at the hospital, eyes red from crying but beaming with pride. Jason reading to her on the couch, asleep with her on his chest, dancing in the kitchen with her on his shoulders. A perfect father. And there was a picture I'd never seen before. Jason and Amanda, not smiling, sitting across from a man in a gray suit. There was a logo in the corner, Child and Family Legal Services. I flipped the photo over. In Jason's handwriting, Custody Consult, June 2019. Custody? I stared at it like it might change if I blinked hard enough. I dug deeper and found a manila folder tucked into the bottom of the box. Inside were legal papers, drafts, notes. Jason had been talking to a lawyer. He'd been fighting for partial custody before he died. That didn't make sense. Amanda and Jason were still together when he died, weren't they? The date said otherwise. June 2019, just 4 months before the accident. I found another document, a typed letter, a statement Jason had written. My hands trembled as I read it. I fear Amanda is becoming emotionally unstable. She's withdrawn from Emily, started locking herself in her room for hours. She screams at Emily over small things, and I've noticed bruises Amanda can't explain. I don't believe she's physically abusing her, but I believe Emily is scared of her. I'm documenting everything in case I need to fight for full custody. I dropped the paper like it burned. This wasn't just about Amanda trying to move on. She had been trying to cover her tracks. And Jason had seen it coming. Now it made sense. Why she kept me at arm's length. Why she distanced Emily from me the moment Jason was gone. Why she married Greg so fast, changed Emily's name, and erased everything tied to her old life. It was guilt. It was fear. If Emily remembered me, if she asked questions, Amanda knew she wouldn't be able to keep the truth buried. I thought back to the school. To how robotic Emily had seemed. She was a bright girl, emotionally intuitive, curious. But that day, she looked trained. I needed help. So I called someone I never thought I would. Rachel, Jason's ex-girlfriend from college. They hadn't dated long, but she'd always been close to our family. She was a lawyer now. Family law. We hadn't spoken since Jason's funeral, but when I told her what I found, she didn't hesitate. Bring everything to me, she said. Every note, every photo, every paper. When I showed her the custody statement, she shook her head. He was preparing to file. If he'd lived another month, Amanda would have had a full investigation on her hands. But he didn't, I said bitterly. And now she's built this perfect little fantasy life with Greg, and I'm the crazy old woman on the outside looking in. Rachel leaned forward. Listen to me. This isn't over. You're Emily's biological grandparent. If we can prove Amanda is alienating you and possibly brainwashing her to forget her father, you have legal grounds to file for visitation, maybe even joint custody depending on what else we find. I blinked. You think I can get her back? Her voice softened. I think we can remind her who she really is. We spent the next few weeks building a case. Rachel helped me write an affidavit. We pulled school records, searched for signs of neglect or strange behavior. Rachel even reached out to an old neighbor who remembered hearing Amanda yelling late at night back when Jason was alive. But the key piece, the one that would prove emotional manipulation, still eluded us. Until the day I got a message. It was anonymous. Just a few lines in an email from a throwaway address. You don't know me, but I used to babysit Emily. Amanda told me never to talk about what I saw. But I still remember her screaming at Emily to call Greg dad, and how she said if Emily ever mentioned Jason again, she'd go live somewhere else. I don't want trouble, but I couldn't stay quiet anymore. My chest tightened. That was it. The truth. Amanda had threatened Emily, conditioned her, weaponized her grief and fear to build a lie. And now that lie was crumbling. Rachel helped me draft an emergency motion. The judge would review it within the month. It wasn't just about visitation anymore. It was about saving Emily from a reality that wasn't hers to live in. And as terrifying as it all was, I finally had something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The courthouse was colder than I expected. Everything about it felt distant, gray walls, metal benches, fluorescent lights that hummed just a little too loud. I sat outside the courtroom, my hands clenched in my lap, the file of documents sitting heavy beside me like a second heartbeat. Rachel was pacing nearby, calm but focused. She kept glancing at her watch, then at the courtroom doors. She's trying to delay, she finally said. Amanda's lawyer requested to push this hearing another 30 days. No, I whispered. She's already taken a year of my granddaughter's life. She doesn't get more time. Rachel nodded. I made that clear. The judge is already reviewing the file. If he sees what I see, this won't get buried. I stared straight ahead, heart pounding. Just the idea that Emily might finally hear the truth, that maybe, just maybe, I'd get 5 minutes to remind her who she really was, felt like trying to breathe after drowning. And then Amanda walked in. She was dressed like she was attending a charity brunch. Hair curled, pearl earrings, blazer too stiff. Greg was right behind her, his hand on her back like he was guiding her. Like she couldn't walk into this fight on her own. She spotted me. Her smile was small, tight. Like she knew I was a problem she hadn't figured out how to make disappear. I stood up. You lied to her, I said softly. Amanda didn't blink. I protected her. You erased her father. You made her forget the only person who ever made her feel safe. I made her safe. Amanda snapped under her breath. You don't know what it's like, raising a child alone after a man leaves you broken. My voice dropped to a whisper. He didn't leave. He died. And before he did, he was fighting to get Emily away from you. Her eyes flared for a second. Then she turned away. The bailiff opened the door. Hearing from Morgan v. Wilson. All parties inside, please. My knees felt like glass as I walked in. The judge was older. Sharp eyes. No nonsense. Rachel did most of the talking. She presented everything. The custody notes. The photos. The babysitter statement, submitted anonymously but corroborated with a sworn affidavit from our old neighbor. She showed a timeline: Jason's preparations to file, Amanda's sudden marriage, Emily's name change, and the total erasure of me, her only living blood grandparent. Amanda's lawyer tried to dismiss it as circumstantial. My client has every right to rebuild her life. Her husband, Greg, has legally adopted Emily with full consent. The child is thriving. Then the judge asked the question I'd been praying for. Has the child expressed fear or resistance to visiting her grandmother? Amanda stiffened. Emily barely remembers her. They haven't seen each other in a long time. But whose decision was that? The judge asked. The child's or yours? Amanda looked caught off guard. She hesitated. We thought it was better this way. Better for whom? Her silence was deafening. Then Rachel stood. Your Honor, with your permission, I'd like to request a brief in-chambers interview. With Emily, alone. Amanda stood up, suddenly panicked. She's only 8. She doesn't need to be involved in this. The judge held up his hand. I'll make that decision. I've done plenty of in-camera interviews with children younger than 8. If there's nothing to hide, there's no reason to object. Amanda sat down, jaw clenched so hard I thought she might break a tooth. The judge nodded. We'll recess until this afternoon. I'll meet with Emily privately. After that, I'll make my ruling. The courtroom cleared out. I sat in the hallway, too stunned to cry, too afraid to hope. Rachel sat beside me in silence. We both knew this was the moment everything could change, or fall apart forever. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, the judge reappeared, walking with calm authority. We followed him back into the courtroom, the air so thick with tension I could barely breathe. He sat, cleared his throat. I spoke with the child. She's bright, polite, and very aware of the adults in her life. She referred to the petitioner, Mrs. Morgan, as a stranger she once saw at the door. My heart broke again. But, he continued, when I showed her a photograph of herself as a toddler with the petitioner and her biological father, her face changed. She said, "That's the lady who used to make butterfly cookies," and then she asked if she could take the photo home. Amanda looked like she'd been slapped. The judge looked straight at her. It is clear to this court that steps were taken, deliberate steps, to erase the memory of a biological parent and a grandparent. I believe emotional manipulation occurred. Whether it was abuse or misguided protection is not mine to define today, but it is enough for this court to act. He turned to me. Mrs. Morgan, I am granting you supervised visitation, effective immediately. Twice monthly, under the court's family counselor. After 3 months, we'll reassess for unsupervised visits. I covered my mouth as tears poured down my cheeks. I had not been erased. Not completely. I had been remembered, in the smallest way, with butterfly cookies and a single photograph. And now, I had a chance. As the hearing ended, Amanda wouldn't look at me. Greg just walked her out, his face pale. But I didn't care. I didn't even move. Because all I could think about was seeing Emily again. Really seeing her. Not through a window. Not in a courtroom. But sitting beside her. Holding her hand. And showing her that some love never goes away, even when people try to bury it. 3 weeks after the court hearing, I sat in a small, cozy office filled with soft chairs, stuffed animals, and pastel-colored walls. It was part of the family services building downtown, the place the judge had ordered for our supervised visits. A counselor named Dr. Ellis, a gentle woman with kind eyes and the patience of a saint, sat across from me. You nervous? She asked. I nodded. I haven't seen her in almost 2 years. Not really. Not as myself. She's excited, Dr. Ellis said, smiling. She looked at the photo every day since you gave it to her. She brought it with her again today. My throat tightened. And then the door opened. She walked in slowly, clutching that photo in both hands. Her hair was longer now, pulled into 2 neat braids. Her eyes were big, cautious, curious, and so much older than they had any right to be. She looked at me like she was trying to remember a song she once knew by heart but hadn't heard in years. I stood but didn't move toward her. Hi, Emily, I said, my voice trembling. She studied me. And then she said it. Did you really make butterfly cookies? I smiled, tears springing instantly to my eyes. Every time you asked. And sometimes even when you didn't. She sat down in the chair across from me, still holding the photo. I remember. The kitchen. It smelled like cinnamon. I nodded. That was your dad's favorite. Her eyes flickered. Daddy. I remember his laugh. I think. You used to sit on his lap and ask him to tell you stories about the moon. I whispered. You said the moon was lonely, and you wanted to be its friend. A single tear ran down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Dr. Ellis stepped back, giving us space. Not leaving, but letting the moment breathe. Emily reached out and touched my hand. Slowly. Carefully. Like she was afraid it might disappear. I'm sorry I forgot, she whispered. I shook my head, leaning in gently. Oh, sweetheart, you didn't forget. Someone just tried really hard to make you forget, but love? Real love? It doesn't go away. It just waits. She nodded. And then, like the sun cracking through clouds after a storm, she smiled. Do you still have crayons? She asked. I laughed through my tears. I brought a whole box, and stickers, and glitter glue. We spent the next hour coloring, drawing stars, unicorns, cookies with wings. She told me about her school, her favorite teacher, how she didn't really like Greg, but didn't know if she was allowed to say that. I listened to every word like it was gold. And when the visit ended, she hugged me. Not politely, not awkwardly, but with arms flung around my neck like she was grabbing onto a lifeline. She whispered in my ear, Can I come to your house one day? I nodded, unable to speak. Over the next few months, the visits became easier, the silences grew shorter. The smiles grew longer. She started remembering more, my stories, my singing, the way I used to let her eat raw cookie dough even though Amanda didn't like it. Each week, she peeled back another layer of the lies she'd been wrapped in. And I never once pushed her. I let her guide the pace. I followed her lead. Amanda tried to fight the court's reassessment, but Rachel was ready. After 3 months of flawless sessions, glowing reports from Dr. Ellis, and a heartfelt video Emily made describing how she loves Grandma because she remembers Daddy and makes me feel like I still know him too, the judge granted us unsupervised visits. The first time Emily came to my house again, she ran through the front door like she used to, barefoot, laughing, spinning in circles like a whirlwind of joy. Same fridge magnets, she squealed. Same couch. And then, standing in the kitchen, she gasped. You still have it. She pointed to the crayon drawing. Faded now, but still proudly pinned to the fridge. 2 stick figures holding hands. One tall, one small. Big hearts above their heads. I never took it down, I told her. Even when you forgot me, I never forgot you. She reached up, tracing the lines of her childhood with her fingers. Then she looked at me with a softness I'll never forget. I think I want to remember everything now. So I told her stories. Every visit, we sat on the couch, and I told her about Jason, her father. About how he cried the first time he held her. How he used to fall asleep with her on his chest. How he once tried to build her a treehouse and ended up nailing his shirt to a plank. She laughed so hard at that one. She asked questions, so many questions. And when she cried, I held her. And when she smiled, I smiled so hard it hurt. One day, she asked something I didn't expect. Why did Mommy lie? I paused, choosing my words. Because she was hurting, I said. And sometimes, when people are scared of losing everything, they try to control what's left. But that's not your fault. And it doesn't make her right. Emily looked down. I still love her. You're allowed to, I said. Love isn't all or nothing. But you deserve the truth. You deserve your truth. She nodded quietly. Things with Amanda were complicated. She never apologized. But she stopped fighting the visits. Maybe the court's warning helped. Or maybe deep down, she knew her lie was collapsing. And I didn't hate her. I couldn't. Because in trying to erase Jason, she gave me a chance to fight for him. For Emily. For our truth. One day, a year after that first visit, Emily and I baked a big batch of butterfly cookies together, just like old times. She bit into one and grinned. Still the best ever. Then she did something that made me cry harder than I had in years. She pulled out a crayon and drew two stick figures again, one tall, one small. But this time, she added a third figure. A man with a guitar. I remember, she whispered. This is Daddy. I hung that new picture beside the old one. And for the first time in years, I felt whole again.